Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Mafex Batman Knight Crusader Batman, which is, Knightfall Batman, I guess, technically, right? He's the one that's going to be fighting Bane. So, I don't know the names of all the different comics and things, and I don't recognize this specifically from anything. Anyway, this is the new Batman, which some people are saying, best Batman ever, bar none, hands down. Other people are saying, it's a little weird and janky. I'm going to be honest, I think both people have some valid points, and we're going to talk about all of that. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, before we talk about the figure, let's get into the package. It is a nice package. It's pretty standard fare for Mafex, but it's a good one, I think. You have enough Batman down here. Sometimes you don't get enough of the figure. Side photo looks pretty good. The back gives you... The back gives you some options. I don't know about this pose right here. That's a little not great, but, you know, you can do that if you want to. And, yeah, you can see some posing options, though mostly just standing options. And then on this side... I like it. Looks pretty good. Okay, good packaging. By the way, it's always nice when there's just a little bit of light up here. For those of you who collect in the box, a little bit of opening up here lets light come right through, and it helps to light up the figure in the package if you're collecting in the box. Okay, that's enough about that for you inbox collectors. Let's get into the figure. Now, before we get into the height measurement, I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping for the channel. You're probably going to hear this in the upcoming videos just because I don't know what's going on with my camera. But sometimes lately my camera's been just killing my videos after like 10 minutes or so, not at a certain time, so it's hard for me to diagnose. But I may need to get a new camera soon, and if you see a lot of photos at the end compared to video, it might be because my video died and I had to overlay something. And since I might have to get a new camera, if you have ever considered joining Patreon or being a member on the channel or anything like that, now might be a helpful time if you've thought about it before, because I might need to invest in a new camera. Okay, and then lastly, this guy is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. There's a link in the description below if you want to pick him up. He is ready to buy right now. Buy him now, add him to your pile of loot, whatever you want to do. I would recommend it. Just gonna throw that out there right now. I like this figure a whole bunch. There are some problems, but I personally love it, and I love Big Bad Toy Store, so what could go wrong? Alright, this guy stands... I hate doing all that stuff, but I have to. It's the YouTube way. Alright, this guy stands about 6.5 inches, not counting his ears. With his ears, it's closer to 6 3/4. That's going to make him roughly, let's say, 16.5 and 17 centimeters. Here he is up against good old Darwin. Definitely mixable with your Marvel Legends. That's the one thing I love about Mafex. They do have some size to them. That's nice. Here he is up against the ugly, goofy Spider-Man with the ridiculously wide hips, just because he happened to be sitting there. And then here he's up against the McFarlane Batman. Definitely not in scale there. And a Marvel Select Captain America, even worse scaling. Okay, so Marvel Legends scale. Big 1/12 scale, we'll call it. Let's start with the aesthetic, but first a question of the day. We've asked this before. I have, not we, it's just me. Which version of Batman is your favorite? Strictly costume speaking. You're gonna go all black, gray and black, light gray and black, dark gray and black, however you want to mix it, let me know. For me, I'm kind of partial to, like, this used to be my favorite, the standard, like, classic blue and gray, slightly darker gray, slightly darker blue, but still light blue. I think I might go with the Jim Lee gray-blue combo. I might. I'm not sure, but definitely I'm a gray-blue guy, and I tend to prefer the yellow bat symbol, even though it's impractical. But I'll take a gray, or a gray and blue Batman with a black chest logo if I have to. Alright, aesthetically speaking, in the photos, the promo photos, the solicitation photos, if I can speak, I thought this guy looked pretty iffy, pretty janky, and I think they're having a Marvel Select situation where their photos just aren't great. They're not doing the figures too much justice. Because this guy does suffer from some issues, but if you, like, in just a neutral pose, if you adjust him just right, or if you adjust him correctly, he looks way better. I still have my issues, and we'll get to that, but it looks way better than I thought. In hand, way better. So I'm very pleased about that. Now, the things I was concerned about, one, it looked like the head might be too big, and I still think it is a little bit. Now, the weird thing about it is the head's not too big for the overall size of the body. It's too big for the lack of girth that they gave him. He's relatively slender here, and that's accurate to the source material to an extent. He's kind of lanky and janky in a few places, and it's mostly when you go like this. When you look at him sideways, he has very, very narrow muscles, very little body. His legs and ass, for instance, very small. So it makes his head look a little bit big. So I think they could have actually fudged the head down a little bit and made him look a little bit better, but still not bad. And then the other thing is, like I mentioned, he's got enough thickness this way, but this way he's very skinny, so depending on how you pose him, it's going to look a little bit weird. But yeah, it looks way better in person. There is shading in the gray. It's very subtle. I wish they'd amp that up just a little bit. They had the same problem with Scarlet Spider, but it looks solid. It's fine. The belt is just straight up. It's not neon yellow, but it is freaking yellow. It is very yellow, so that's okay, I guess. The Bat logo definitely needs a little bit of help. I don't know what Mafex's problem is. Like, they're clearly a good company. They're able to do good work, but they also just do this kind of thing, which, ugh, it's not painted well at all. At a distance, you're not going to notice it, but it's not great. But yeah, the body looks much better than I thought it was going to. There are things I would change. Shrink the head a little bit, give the thighs a little bit more length, a little bit more meat. And because you don't want this version of Batman to be super bulky, but he does have a few, you know, a few issues here and there. Now, they do have the cloth cape on this guy. It's the accurate cape with the pointy things at the bottom. It's wired. I'm okay with it. It's a very big cape. We'll look at that later when we do the accessories, but it looks decent. This piece right here is not the one that comes on him in the package. This cowl piece fits on him pretty well. The other one, we'll talk about it as we do the accessories, but generally speaking, the aesthetic is solid on this guy. The face, not bad. The paints are clean enough. I mean, it's not absolutely perfect, but it's okay. My biggest gripe is this shiny spot I have on the head on mine. Is it going to focus? Probably not. Yeah, I don't like that from the packaging. Can't do really anything about that other than to throw some flat paint on there. But yeah, it's way better looking than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be disappointed based on the solicitation photos, and I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm thoroughly okay with it. As a collector, I'm very happy with it. As a reviewer, it's still pretty solid. So I'm going to give the aesthetic an 8 out of 10. It is definitely good enough at this price point from this company, and 8 is a good number. Okay, now as far as accessories go, let's just start with the capes, I guess. We'll do that so that I can get that out of the way. He does have the standard cape, which is quite large, but not like ridiculously large. It's a little annoying that mine has this here. Maybe some heat will fix that, I don't know. But it's wired in the spines. Doesn't have wire at the bottom, but we do have wire here, and it is connected to the cowl, so you can do stuff with it if you want to, and it's definitely usable. I wish it was a little bit easier. Like, you can't really bring it forward, so the cowl goes too far over on the shoulder. Like, it looks nice for the cowl, but for the cape, you can't drape it over the shoulder properly. Not really. So that could be a little bit better, but yeah, it's a solid cape. This material is okay. I would have preferred some spandex in there. There's no stretch to it at all, so if there's no stretch to the material, that means lots of wrinkles or folded over cape tips, which is not ideal, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely solid, and the way the cowl fits on this guy, not bad. However, we have the cowl that comes on him in the package. I want to show you that one now. This guy's accessory allotment or assortment is kind of robust. Let's get this one on here, which is the one that I'm not actually like. It looks cool, but I don't like those tips on there. Let's do a question of the day. Do you guys like the cape spikes? Not my thing. But this one doesn't fit on him as well. Let me get it snapped in all the way. It sits just a little bit too high, I think, and there's too much, I don't know. The mixture between the cloth and the plastic works for a more subtle design. I think like this, it's too obvious that it's sitting high above the shoulders, and it just looks kind of weird. So let me know what you guys think about that. Like, yeah, once you pose it, if you get the cape going more dynamically, it'll look better, and the cape itself is basically the same thing. But to me, these just, I don't know. I could see using it, but it's not my personal cup of tea, just because you have to have the cape underneath it, and they sit a little high. But yeah, it's not bad. So you get that option. And then the last cowl / cape option is to have no cape, because he is a swimming Batman. So you can pop this one on here, and then it is just that. Alright, and that goes with this head. Okay, so there you go. That's cool that they included it. I will never use this. Another question of the day. Are you guys ever going to pose him swimming? Like, that seems like a silly thing to me. Unless your figure's underwater, doesn't quite make sense. Okay, so let's move on to the other accessories. We have 3 different heads. We do have the standard head that you already saw. We do have the swimming head that you already saw. And then we have the long ears angry head that you haven't seen yet. And I want to talk about that briefly, if I can get this cape back on. Okay, so I happen to be a big fan of Batman with the long pointy ears. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I think his head is probably too big, and if your Batman's head is too big and you do the long pointy ears, it looks even bigger. So I have to say, I don't think this looks good. I think this looks kind of silly, honestly. It looks like the Noid. Some of you are going to recognize that reference from Domino's in the 90s. I think he was called the Noid. Anyway, I think that head just looks too big, and that face, I get what they're going for, but to me, it looks goofy. And I'm very bummed out about that because I was really looking forward to a long pointy-eared Batman, but that's also the only face with a grimace or anything like that. So you don't have any more options for the pointy ears, and you don't have any more options for the angry face. So for me, I'm stuck with just using the standard head, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but I'm not thrilled with that pointy-eared head. It just looks off to me. Alright, you do get a nice variety of hands, probably everything you would need. He also does come with his Batarang with wire, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to unspool that, but it is bendy wire, so I like that a whole bunch. And then lastly, he comes with the Mafex acrylic display stand, which is always a welcomed addition to the package. So, good spread of accessories, not perfect. The capes are nice. It's really just that one head that kind of throws it off, but solid for sure. So I will say 9 out of 10 for this guy. The extra capes, extra heads, extra hands, display stand, accessory. The only thing he's missing is like a grapnel gun or something, but maybe this version of Batman didn't use it that much. I don't know. That's a very specific piece of minute detail, so I don't know. But yeah, good spread of accessories. Alright, for articulation, it's going to be your standard Mafex articulation for the most part, but let's go through it anyway. Double ball peg for the head on top of the neck. Will the neck move? No, the cowl prevents it, unfortunately. But the head moves pretty well on top. It can get gappy, but you can probably adjust for it in most instances. So yeah, it has pretty good range. A little bit gappy. Kind of the same thing for the shoulders. I'm not sure what they're doing here. This cap doesn't hide that gap as well as I would like, but you do get your standard Mafex shoulder, which works pretty well to move around. You can raise the arms up, but the cowl is in the way, so you're going to get to about that before you start to get in the way of the cowl, so be aware of that. Same thing for the rotation, of course, but yeah, you still get plenty of range. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow gives you not as much range as some of the other ones, but he's got a little bit more meat, so that is fine. Wrists have a ball hinge, and they work nicely. Okay, for the diaphragm joint, he does lean back and forward, not as well as I would like. His forward is pretty limited. His back is, it's not great, and it gets gappy, so you have to kind of tilt it down, but it's not really accounted for, so it's got kind of a weird ledge there. So not great. You're gonna have to work on hiding those things. Side to side is solid. Rotation is good. Down here at the lower abdomen, it's pretty good. He leans forward a lot more down there. Leans back just a little bit, leans side to side a little bit, and then you get more rotation. It's not the best torso we've seen from them, and they don't have the best torso range usually, and his is not even the best of theirs, so that's kind of a bummer. Now for the hips, unfortunately they're still doing the drop downs, which is definitely not ideal. It's never ideal, I think, but we can bring the legs out to that far. Not all the way out to the splits, but that's pretty good. Mine has a little bit of plastic stuck in here, and I don't have anything to grab it. That's from the packaging. Anyway, decent splits, not great. Bring the legs forward, even with them all the way down, you get about that far, which isn't bad, but it's definitely not as good as some other figures that don't have the crappy drop downs. You can go higher, but then it kicks them out to the side, and because of the way they do their thigh swivel, it's just not as useful. Their hips are still their weakest articulation, if you ask me. They don't go back too far. Their hips look nice in the neutral, but they definitely need to get more range out of these hips. Spider-Man, Batman, all these guys, their hips are probably the weakest point. Double jointed knee is okay, definitely out of proportion just a little bit. Thighs need to be a little bit longer. Shins need to be a little bit shorter, but it's not terrible. And then you have decent range going back. Not the best range going forward. Toe hinge is a little bit loose, a little far back. Not the best looking toe hinge we've ever seen either, but it's okay. And your ankle rocker is really good. So it's fine. It's nothing special. It's going to pose well enough. It's going to have some hindrances here and there that you're going to have to work around, but I think overall you should be pretty good, especially with the bendy cape, and the parts of the articulation that do work really well should carry him through. So I'm going to give his articulation an 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. Definitely some room for improvement. And now it's time for the final verdict. Is this the best Batman ever that looks like this, at least? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but it's also really expensive comparatively. Like, you could compare this to a few DCUC Batmans or a DCSH Batman or... well, I wouldn't compare it to McFarlane. So yeah, like, it's hard to say if it's the best ever. Is it really good? Yeah, I would say so. As a collector, I love it. I loves it, as Gollum might say. But it's my precious. But it's our precious? I don't know. I haven't seen those movies in a little while. But as a reviewer, it's nothing like super special. It's really good. I'm going to give it an overall rating of... I think with everything included, I'm still going to have to go 9. It's a solid release. It's definitely the best Mafex Batman. If by my estimation, it has the most included, and it works pretty well. I like their Fat Batman a lot. Yeah, I think, and the Jim Lee one too. I don't know, I think, yeah, I'm going to stick with 9. It's a solid release. So, there it is, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, but that's it for me. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.